Hey everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful Friday. I thought it was a miracle yesterday that we did not have 1 ounce of rain at my house. I'm pulling keys out of my pocket, sorry. Um, I am a little bit late today, and it's because I was talking with Brother Francis. And that brought back, we were laughing and talking about the way things used to be and memories. Because my granddaughter, yay, is final day of driver's ed today. I'm so proud of her. She did it like a champ, even though her dad was a really horrible driver and her mother's an overly cautious driver, and then she's got me, just an old driver. And I was sitting there talking with him, and I remembered, that driver's ed used to be a semester class? I go back to those days, and I was like, wow, people actually took it as an elective. And they had to drive on the weekends, and they had to study and test, and they studied. What on God's green earth do we need to know about driving a car that took a semester? Well, I'm laughing because I see the drivers that are out there now that didn't take a semester, that they kind of walk in on their driving and they're like, they don't indicate a lane change, they don't stop at the light or stop behind a car with where you can still see the tires meeting the road of the other car, so that if somebody rear ends you, you don't jettison into them. And when do you have to, how far away from the corner do you have to be before you turn on your blinker? And I'm thinking, no wonder nobody in this town knows how to use a blinker. Because it's a 2-week course. Cheyenne's doing it in 2 weeks. And that got me to thinking how I learned to drive. My training was not much different. It was baptism by fire. I've told you guys my family is one of the people who they run out there and they put the word fun back in dysfunction. So my dad, we had to come to Albuquerque going to see my sister, and he had been drinking. So it was like 3 in the afternoon. He tossed me the keys and he said, go ahead, you're driving us to Albuquerque. Well, it was no big deal leaving Gallup. But when I got on the highway and the big semis went by, I was like, help me. And he was passed out. There was no encouragement. There was no help for me. I was flying on the seat of my pants, gripping the car and the steering wheel. And then when we got into Albuquerque, we were coming down 9 Mile Hill. And I had to wake him up because I didn't know how to get to my sister's house. And he kind of pulled the seat up and kind of looked around and he goes, oh, well, you have to take the I-25 exit. It's up there somewhere. And he went back to sleep. Or should I say, passed out again. So I was like, okay. And somehow I got us over there to my sister's house. Another instance where he had me driving is we had gone to Phoenix to see the school I was going to go to. And we were coming up, I don't know if you guys remember how when you came up out of Phoenix and you took, you come out and you're taking it out of Mesa. You're not going up Black Canyon to take it to Flagstaff. You're coming up through Pace and Heber and, hit Holbrook and then over to Gallup. Well, back in those days, there wasn't this double road, 2 lanes going each way. It was 1 road, 1 lane each way. Okay, 2-lane road. And there was none of these like nice metal guards. There was a brick wall. And the brick wall was like 3 feet high, maybe. Your bumper was scraping if you were going too fast. And my sister, who was deathly afraid of anybody driving, and she had valid reason for it. Like I said, our parents weren't exactly notorious for soberness when they took us kids. So she was paranoid. She was screaming in the back, she's going to kill us. And he goes, if she kills us, it's okay. We'll come back again. You'll live to see another day. And I thought, oh, my father didn't even believe in reincarnation now that I think about it. He was okay with that. You make the mistakes, it's okay. We'll survive it. He didn't care. And I think, well, I was the last of 4 that he taught to drive. He had to teach the next 2 that he had, but they weren't even a blink in his eye yet. So the way I got my license was, he gave me the keys, and he sent me to the DMV. He said, here's your birth certificate, here's your social security card, go get your license. I didn't know anything about parallel parking. Didn't know you had to know these things because I didn't take that semester in school because I was in school in Phoenix and they didn't have driver's ed there. So back in those days, it really was baptism by fire. And the reason I'm saying this is because I know this topic is on healing and how we have to heal and how important those healing processes are. And, you know, we have lots of nice catchphrases. We have, the dark night of the soul, and, it's an onion and you have to peel the layers. And I'm laughing because I think there's more than one dark night of the soul. I think we do a repeat on this. Thought we just couldn't go on. This was possibly the worst week I've had yet when it comes to my son's death. And I was pretty much on my own here in the center to contemplate. But I also had a really deep, intense session with my Rolfer on Monday. And a lot of stuff was coming up. And we were talking there too, and he reminded me that Dr. Ladd said emotional trauma is in the fluid between the cells. So even if you have a liver, it's not jam-packed like cell on top of cell on top of cell. They're not like that. They float. There's space between them, and the fluid that's there holds emotional trauma. That's why your liver can be angry. Your kidneys hold fear. I mean, go to Louise Hayes's book and really look at what's going on. They write nice mantras and they do all these great things. But healing is so much more than that. It's so much more than just recognition. It's the willingness to kind of look and do our foundational research. Being a healer is a greater commitment. And I guess what I'm saying is that people who enter into this work do not do so lightly. They do not come by it because they have nothing better to do. Now, I will readily admit, that many times I see people working in healing that don't have training, but they found a way to make a living. And I'm not willing to begrudge anybody that, but I remember a woman doing a trade with me one time, and she was standing back 10 feet, and she was doing this. She was like doing this number, and I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm palpating your energy field. And I said, honey, it's so cold in your office. My auric field, my energy field is maybe like a quarter or to an eighth of an inch off my body. I'm freezing. And understand that you can't feel any of my energy if I'm more concerned about losing calories through shivering. And that's how she understood it. I'm not saying that she was wrong. What I'm saying is that I knew exactly where my energy field was, and that she was mistrained. I don't say that lightly. Healing is a very big part of who I am. If you ever actually had a healing session with me and you were fully into the session, you would know what shifts and changes can actually happen. My work is all about healing, whether it be through my spiritual counseling or through putting you on the table and working with your energies. It's about helping you shift your stuckness, for lack of a better word. Now I'm going to do a sidebar here and tell you that there's a wonderful book, yet again, me and my books, that I'm rereading. It's another Michael J. Rhodes book. He seems to be really speaking to me this year. The book is called Stepping, Between, Realities, And in this book, he's talking to people, he's talking to you about an experience that he had. Now, understand that there are very few people on his level, and I would love to be on his level. There's very few people that really like to read his books because they don't quite understand. His level is up, way up here. So if you get a chance to study, you can read his books, reread his books, and read his books. You're going to get something different out of each one. And you're going to get more information. You're going to get more empowerment. That level of empowerment is going to help start bringing you healing. So many people think that by attending a workshop, that's all you have to do. And that would be nice. I mean, if I could have become this great miraculous healer just by attending a workshop or two, wow, that's awesome. But it's much more than that. It's studying to understand how energy fields work, how the cosmic consciousness works with us, how our spirit team pulls together and works with us. And it's about how we work with us. So in this book, he's talking about light flakes. And he's speaking of it, I don't want to say metaphorically, because I believe that he astral projected. He went out of body. He went into a situation in which he met another consciousness. And in that consciousness, the consciousness was creating, or was allowing the white flakes, light flakes, I just assume they're white, to come out. But what he was saying is that these light flakes were coming, and they were dancing around the world, and they were landing on people, and they were very concentrated in a town in Mexico. Don't ask me to remember which, because I've slept since then. But they land on, very concentrated in this one town, and he noticed that there were other parts of the world that the flakes didn't quite land on. They kind of looked like they were bypassing countries. Not in its entirety, because there were still light workers working in those countries. They were landing on them, and there were some people who had a lot of light coming to them versus other people who didn't. Maybe the flakes were not landing on as much, and some that the light seems to be avoiding. And I thought about this, and the reason for this conversation today is because when we're looking at who light workers are, we have this misunderstanding. We think that light workers are people who are doing this work. Well, a light worker can also be somebody who's a catalyst for this work. Maybe they chose to come in to trigger your healing, your need for healing, as was the case with my son and his father. Blew me away when I realized that. I also remember when his father passed, we were not together, and I lit a candle for him, which took some conscious thought for me. I had to really decide, was I still angry at him or not? Because there's no use lighting a candle if you're angry at somebody and trying to do a good intention. I decided I wasn't angry. And I said, well, you have wiser eyes on your son now. You can help him more clearly than I can, and you need to step up because you weren't here in the physical form for him, so maybe you could be doing some stuff over there. I think he did. I think he helped my son with some things, whether My son knew it or not while he was alive. I don't know. But I do think that we do get help from our family if they can, even if it's just that they send love while we go through our shit. Sorry. But I also believe that those light flakes hit people who are there to help us heal. And that could be the healer, that could be the catalyst. And we could also ask for that light flake to come to us, because we can be our own catalyst. We can really grab that opportunity to bring our own healing forward. Now, I will tell you that in the case of Michael J. Rhodes, destiny definitely plays a part in his world. But he had training and foundation, and he made a commitment, and he studied, and he worked with his spirit guide and his spirit teachers, and his destiny was to help us grow in consciousness. I can't think of anything right now that's more important for us to be doing. Healing comes when you grow in consciousness. Healing doesn't come because you miraculously don't have an ache or a pain. Healing comes when you love the fact that you have an ache or a pain. Healing doesn't come because you're struggling with what people say. If you're irritated by anything that somebody says, because I trigger a lot of people because I tell them things that I know are foundations, and it doesn't resonate with what's being taught out there today. I'm okay with that, because if they're misrepresenting healing, training, teaching for ego or for money, and they're mistraining their people, misrepresenting themselves as a healer, that's karmic. And I'm done. I'm so done paying everybody else's karma. I'm paying my own. I'm keeping in my lane. And I will teach healing, and I will train people, but I will train them to be the best possible them. I will train them to heal themselves before they're ever training another person, because our ego gets in the way. I hear stories all the time. Oh, well, I did this and I had that happen. You know, in all fairness, I don't remember any of the healings that I did, whether they had a miraculous or profound effect. It doesn't matter, because I let spirit do the work. I'm just the open pathway for the energy. That's it. So my ego is not ever going to tell you, I did this. My ego is going to teach you how to allow it to happen for you, and allow those flakes to land on you for your healing, to allow the shift in energy. Like I said, Dr. Ladd said, our emotional trauma is stuck in the fluid between the cells. How can your cells use that fluid to nourish and reproduce if it's traumatized? That's where we begin to go into decrepitude. That's where we begin to go into anger and pain and bringing forth horrible experiences, is because our trauma. And it repeats and repeats until we desire to get it out. Well, I've been on this self-healing journey for over 30 years. And I'm doing Rolfing, and it's the best thing I could do for myself, because I'm getting the structural integrity of my body back. I have pain most people don't understand, because I've never let it stop me, because I was a massage therapist, and I was very active in the gym, and I was active in yoga. I kind of slowed up these last 3 years, but that's okay. I'm getting back there. But it's about eating right. It's not about eating everything. It's about eating right. And you eat right when you feel right. And you don't have to eat everything that everybody thinks you have to eat right. You have to use your intuition to tell you what it is you should eat so you feel better. Criticism, when I teach, it's not a criticism. It's just to correct what may be misunderstood with you so that you can create your own healing. I had a woman come in. She wanted a reading. She was a referral from a very good friend of mine at the time, and she had a bottle of essential oil, and it was licorice. And she dabbed it on, did this, and ran it up her arms, and took a big hit, and I was like, well, I'm chemically sensitive, and a lot of essential oils today are not made by pure oil. They're made with chemical composition because there's not enough lavender in the world for all the lavender, different brands of lavender out there. So they have to augment it with some chemical composition. And she was inhaling this, and I said, well, why are you doing this? And she said, because I was told it's going to heal me. And I said, you understand how powerful an essential oil is, that one drop can trigger a healing, 2 drops can trigger a healing crisis. And you realize that by putting that on you, you don't know when you walk into the store who you could be triggering. You could trigger a cancer, you can trigger a heart attack. It's well and fine to use an essential oil discreetly and calmly for yourself, but it's like getting a vaccination. You know, they want everybody to be vaccinated so that we don't harm each other. But you put essential oil on, you could be harming people because those essential oil companies are not giving you the contraindications when not to use the oil. When in this frame of mind, it can cause euphoria. Yay! If you need an uplifting oil like ylang ylang. But what if you're a bit bipolar and that's not the oil you should be using? You send yourself way into hyperzone. So we have to really look at what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it in order to bring forth our levels of awareness. We hold these traumas in our body, and the healer is not, the action of the healer is not the miracle. The change in your mindset towards your healing is the miracle that creates the healing. And this is something that they're not telling you. Because if I teach you how to heal yourself, how to get into your mindset and change your way of thoughts and practice, and you're better for it, then you're not going to have to pay somebody to constantly heal you. Because it's a change in mindset. And you can't learn that in a weekend course. You can't learn it through a meditation. It's an individualized experience. And part of that mindset and part of that healing is training to be able to sit in the stillness. If you cannot sit in stillness and meditate and empty your mind, you're still dealing with some trauma. And it doesn't matter what guided meditation that you're using, you're not reaching the trauma. You have to learn to sense. Your chakras are a way of looking at that. When somebody is so engrossed in ego that they must have the fancy car and the fancy house and the big weekend barbecues with friends and family, and that COVID must have devastated them. It must have really been hard because they couldn't drive their fancy car anywhere, and their home became a prison, and barbecues were a thing of the past. So they were left with each other. So we've got a lot of people out there who are really hurting. Knowing hand positions to bring forth an energy shift is great, but it doesn't make you a healer. It means you're easing their pain. It means that you're helping to alleviate their trauma. for a period of time. You're giving them space in which they need to process. I can tell you that anytime you take away people's cell phone and make them lay down on your table and just sit with them, it's going to affect change because they're not being bombarded by all their stress and worries. The same thing happens when you try to align their chakras, because the minute they get up and they realize they have to go back to their life, those chakras are going to start reacting to their emotions of going back to their life. And sometimes living is the hardest thing we got to do. I was probably closer this week to giving up. Not because I don't value my life, not because I was going to commit suicide. I mean, walking away from this work. Because it's hard. It's hard to be in the space for people you really need. You really need to be there for them. And sometimes you have to be there for yourself first. I'm not telling you this because I'm embarrassed. I'm not. I'm telling you this so that you can let it be you too. So that you can let it be okay when people let you down, when they bail on you at the last minute, that you can still go on. When people don't show up for you, it's okay because you've shown up for yourself. But we're still human and we still have the 3D emotions that we have to get through. So it's just another way of saying, I took something personal this week and I shouldn't have. I've got my spirit team. I can feel them coming in. I can feel my son coming in. Because sometimes the dark night of the soul is ongoing in this life. That's what makes you a healer. That's what makes it real. It's the changing of your mindset. It's understanding that you're not responsible. If you think that going and pulling things out of people is healing them, it's not. All you're doing is shifting energy. And if you don't know how to dispose of that negative energy properly, it's going to make you sick. Do you know why 12-step programs work? Because it's practice. I know people who are sober. They work at their program. And I know people who are sober who don't. We call them dry drunks. They're not in recovery because they're not doing anything to change their mindset. They think they've already done the work. The minute that we think we've done the work is the minute we fail. Because the work is ever ongoing. We have not attained the Christ consciousness. None of us that I know have. I think I've seen flashes of people's Christ consciousness coming out when they share, when they talk. The biggest thing about our foundations and training and practice, it understands that we are powerless, meaning we succumb to accepting what may come in our life without having to control it, without having to dictate it, without taking it personal when it comes from another person. It means training every day, even if that training means I'm going to sit quietly here for a moment and just let the universe feel the love. We don't know what each other's paths are. Oh, I know there's people who read Akashic records. I can tell you what they're doing is they're reading past life information, because there's no way anybody can get into your Akashic record. They don't hold your vibration. Only you hold your vibration. But they can pick up on past lives. And when they say Akashic record reading, what they're saying is I'm going to pick up on past lives of yours. It's a marketing tool. And a good one. It's a good one because, wow, I can't read Akashic records, but I get hits on past life information. So, yeah, I guess I'm just as good in my own way. I give the honest and best information that I get, and I'm as accurate I can possibly be. And I'm also wise enough to be able to say, today is not the day I should be reading, or today is not the day I should be healing. Today is not the day, but tomorrow will be. But like I said, it hit me so hard this week. I struggle too, just like anybody else. I see the beauty in this work. And I know that there's some powerful people out there, and it's time that we all start coming together and using that energy together to bring more light to our city. And they will come, because I have been shown this. So from my heart to yours, understand that I think of you guys always. What I say does not often come across as fun and giggly. I'm not here to tell you that you've got to do it my way. I'm here to say, let me help you find your way. From my heart to all of yours, you be safe this weekend. And don't forget, we have the Psychic Fair. And we got Brother Francis's meditation tomorrow and Johanna's reading here at the center if you need anything. Lionsgate is coming up on Sunday. It's a perfect day for people who know how to do a lunation right to start their manifesting for the next, from full moon, new moon to full moon. It's really perfect. If you haven't learned about that, well, join Magic Circle, because the information is out there and it's there. We have a lot of great things coming our way if we let the light flakes hit us. Sit and ask them to come visit you, land on you, love you. Talk to you later. Have a good weekend.